Shock and sadness about the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. It happened early this morning in Orlando, where a heavily armed man opened fire, killing 50 and injuring 53 others. And now we're hearing the American-born shooter called 911 to pledge allegiance to ISIS before he was killed. President Obama says this was an act of terror and hate. The FBI says they were aware of the suspect previously, but he was not under investigation. We go live now to Orlando for more on the story from ABC's Marcy Gonzalez, who is live on the scene. Marcy?
Good evening. The shooting started just as the Pulse nightclub behind me here was about to close at 2 o'clock this morning, and the nightmare continued for another 3 hours. That's when the SWAT team moved in to try to rescue dozens of hostages and killed the gunman. We are learning more about him and how this massacre unfolded.
Look at that, just shooting back and forth.
Horrifying moments from the worst mass shooting in American history captured on camera.
Oh my God.
A gunman opening fire early this morning at a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida.
Bam, 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 bam. There was bodies everywhere, and I was crawling. I just kept crawling.
At least 50 people killed, more than 50 others injured.
This was an act of terror and an act of hate. Attacks on any American, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation, is an attack on all of us.
It's sickening. It should make every American angry.
People rushing to the scene after getting heart-wrenching calls and text messages from loved ones inside the club.
My son, he got shot 3 times.
He said he was going to die and he loved me. That's the last thing I heard.
Hours later, many of them still waiting for news.
They can't identify anybody, so it could be hours and hours.
The gunman killed at the scene, identified by investigators as 29-year-old Omar Mateen. Law enforcement officials say after the shooting began, he called 911 to pledge his allegiance to ISIS.
There were 911 calls in which there was conversation between the subject and law enforcement representatives of 911 dispatchers.
Mateen was known to law enforcement. The FBI interviewed him 3 times back in 2013 and 2014, but he was not deemed a threat. Authorities say he drove to Orlando from his home in Fort Pierce, Florida, armed with an assault weapon and a handgun.
He drove 2 hours in order to go to a gay nightclub and to kill people. I think that speaks for itself.
And federal officials say the gunman bought the weapons used in the attack legally within the past week. The scene here still blocked off as authorities try to identify all of the victims. Live in Orlando, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News. Now back to you.
All right, thank you, Marcy. A terrorism observer told ABC News that the claim of responsibility from ISIS is an unusual message because it's based on a source and could be opportunistic. It does not claim that the group directed the plot. Now, Mateen's father said the family is shocked by the deadly attack. He did say his son had expressed disgust at seeing 2 men kiss several months ago. Governor Rick Scott has declared a state of emergency in Orange County. The governor made the announcement during a press conference this morning in Orlando. He says the shooting was clearly an act of terror that both sickens and angers him. He also spoke about the diversity of Florida and that the strength and resiliency of the state, which will allow the community to heal.
This state is going to be defined as a state of generosity, a state of love. We are a resilient state. We love people in our state, and we're going to continue to do that. Anybody that's thinking about doing something like this in our state, our justice is swift, our penalties are severe. We have a great law enforcement team, and we're going to do the right thing.
Scott says he'll do all he can to handle the tragic incident and help the city of Orlando. And in honor of the victims, the governor is also ordering all U.S. and state flags flown at half-staff at local, state, and federal buildings throughout Florida, and that should remain until sunset on Thursday. A hotline has been established, and social media has reacted to the shooting. Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer says anyone seeking information about their loved one can call 407-246-4357. Facebook has also activated a safety check feature for those in the Orlando area to alert friends that they are indeed safe. The city is also working on a website to provide updates on the conditions of victims in the shootings.